Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about the lava amplifier. I have several videos of this lava amplifier already, but for this particular one I'm going to be doing a slightly expensive build, right? But this is so that this build can be extremely stable at any level all the time. Alright? So essentially what this is going to do is that initially I tried to path all the husks to the geyser, right? So there's this geyser. Let me get over there. And this particular geyser, what it's going to do is launch all the husks into the lava, right? And I think probably some of you have already seen some of these in some other videos, and perhaps one of my videos, where you can just launch husks in the geyser, they'll get launched into lava, and they'll die. Alright, and all the husks will die, including the mist monsters, right? Because this kind of lava is special lava. This lava over here actually kills all the mist monsters, right? But however, if you go to other lavas, right, they just won't kill anything, right? Well, I mean, they'll kill the regular husks, right? But there's other lavas that simply won't kill, and I think this one also won't kill too. Let me check. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, but we're gonna try to instead using this geyser path, because this pathway is very long, right? And if you remember the spawns, right? They spawn from up here, they spawn from down here, and there is a spawn over here, right? And you have to get all of them all the way to the geyser, and that's a very, very long pathway, right? And the amount of block off required to do this is very, very high, right? It is so high that I think it's impractical to do, right? So the only other way to do it, right? There's two options I could do, right? I could purposely make these layers weaker, right? Because if you have weakened layers, right, over here, for example, so if this layer was weakened and the other layers were weakened, right, it'll attract the husks over here, right? If you have proper block offs, then they won't go over here, right? So I had to think of what are the possibilities I could do, right? I could do a weakened layer strategy, but then that risks those layers being broken down. Or I could do a split pathing, right? And this split path thing is actually pretty damn good, actually, right? Because I was able to figure out that there's a recycler that you could do over here, and I think some of my friends and stuff like that, they started doing this as well, right? And this has been a very stable build because I'm splitting the husks up, right? But what's interesting about this split path thing is that very few husks get over here, right? And the reason being is actually not entirely clear to me, right? Like 90% of the husks will still path to the geyser, but the husks that remain over here pathing towards this side would usually be the smashers or propane. Sometimes there's going to be some lobbers or laser boys, but it's usually those particular enemies, right? Those particular husks, right? So what I'm gonna do over here is build a recycler, right? So this recycler is basically some floor launchers, some wall launchers. Gonna launch them all the way back here, so they have to loop over here, or they loop over here through the valley area, right? They can loop over here, either way. Right? And I think I can even put a wall launcher here, but I don't think it's necessary. But yeah, that's pretty much this area over here, right? And then they're gonna path all the way up here into over here, and then their smashers can get recycled, right, and looped. And then if you notice that there's this little strange little floor edit, right? And then you're thinking, can a smasher actually path over here? And yes, a smasher can path over here. The propanes can path over here too, and same with many other husks. However, not all the husks can path over here, right? So because not all the husks can't path over, you can't actually use this kind of strategy for many other builds. But this special build you can, because I'm splitting the husks anyway, right? So all the other husks are going to go that way, and then the other husks are going to go this way. And those husks that go this way always can walk up here, which is really nice. So I decided to do that instead, right? You can, however, which I did in my one of my previous times, you can instead path them as so like this, right? So you can path them as so like this, right? If you're really skeptical about that kind of stair edit, right? If you do that, and this will also work as well. And you can put like a floor launcher here. You put like little wooden floor spike there, and that's also okay too, right? Both of them are acceptable, right? So you can do that one, or you can do this floor edit that I've been doing, right? And this floor edit is something I've been just been curious about. So yeah, that's why I've been doing it. And do that there. There we go. Good to go. So now, in order for this to work, we're going to need to talk about the layering, right? So if you notice, I don't have any walls over here, right? I don't have any walls over here. I don't have any floors over here, right? And there's a good reason why I don't have any of those there, right? And the reason being is because there is a spawn that can go right on these floor pieces, right? Which will break all these builds, right? So there's no point in actually doing that. So this is as far out as you ever want to go in terms of layering. Furthermore, there is a spawn up here on target, right? So this spawn on target would also fall down over here, right? And if it's falling down on some of these, right? Or some of these, then it's gonna just end up breaking them, right? So there's no point in having that there, right? And this spawn, in particular over here, there is a ultra rare spawn, which I've only seen once out of like hundreds of runs, where it can actually spawn a purple tornado over here or something. I think it's around there. And this purple tornado actually breaks the builds in here, right? It actually breaks the builds in here. Well, not these ones, but this one, right? It breaks that one. So I figured maybe I could just remove it and see if the build still works. And so far, from what I've noticed, the build still works, so that's fine. But this is an ultra rare spawn that I've only seen once out of over 100 runs, right? Well, not 100 runs, but 100 defenses of this, right? So it's a very rare spawn, right? So you can be wary of that. Okay, so if you guys understand the essence of this tunneling, where there's a small recycler over here, and then there's a pathway to the geyser all the way into this cave, right? This cave is pretty long. See, yep. Let's go all the way down here, all the way down there. Eventually, you'll come over here and then go wee, right? In very rare cases, this wall might get attacked by some random husks, so I just put a sound wall there. Very rare. And then there's a very rare case where a husk might come through, so there's a wall launcher over there just in case. Okay. And then of course there's this wall, which would prevent the flingers from trying to fling, right? I don't think they can fling from this position. And then this is for the lava bomb shift over here, part of the lava bomb shift, right? And of course there's these little walls, right? And then I have a half wall and then I have a full wall. This is only so it's mobility, so I can jump up here, jump up here, use Guardian's Will up here, Guardian's Will up there, Guardian's Will up there. There's this little slant, and then Guardian's Will up there. This is just for mobility reasons. There is nothing really other than that. Okay. So in order for the husk to path all the way over here, right? Because this is 2 tiles north from their regular pathing. So normally they would just like go over here, right? Just walk over here to the amp. But I need to have appropriate amount of layers so that they'll path 2 tiles away, right? And the appropriate amount of layers in this case, right? If you watch one of my previous videos, it's going to be a minimum of 7 layers, right? And with this layer only requiring 4, right? So this one's only required 4, so this is the wall over here. This half floor is just to keep the distance, right? Just to keep the distance away so that they're not pathing, so they're not pathing on the edge of the geyser, pathing right in the middle, right? So it's always guaranteed to path in the middle of the geyser, so it's safer that way. Right? So there's 1 layer there, 2 layer here, 3 layer here, 4 layer here, and that's sufficient to path them 1 more tile over there, right? For this, I need 7 total layers. So there's 1 layer over here, 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers, 5 layers, 6 layers, 7 layers right here, right? And I guess there's a drop off here, so it's a little bit more than 7, just as extra precaution. And then over here, 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And then this one's extra precaution. But they can also path under here, right? So they break under here, and then there is another layer over here as well, right? So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? In order to get down here. So yeah, that's definitely more than enough, right? And I put 1 extra layer just in case, because I just like to be extra safe, right? But yeah, that should be it, right? So you see, that's pretty much all of this. Is like you spam these here, and that's those four tiles are, right? So you're just spamming over there. It should be flat floor. If there's a flat floor underneath, there's a flat floor underneath, and this one is not a flat floor, right? But you're still gonna need them over there, right? So just to get that. So this is the top layer, and I'm gonna go underneath in the bottom layer over here. Right? As long as you have those sufficient layers, you should be good to go. Right? And you should have absolutely no risk of the husk ever wanting to break your walls over here at all. Okay? Now then, once you exit over here, right? Once you exit over here, and then there's going to be a diagonal pathing over here, right? So I try to make this as diagonal as I can be so that the husks are more encouraged to walk over here, right? So this is a diagonal pathing over here, all the way to the amp, which they will get whacked, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you need to have this over here as such, right? If you put a flat floor over here, this can actually get destroyed from the lava spurring out from under here, right? Which, as you can see, it got destroyed. But if you put a floor edit here, right, it actually will not get destroyed, right? Same thing over here. You need a floor edit here, like so, in order for it to not get destroyed. If you have a flat floor over here, it will eventually get destroyed, right? Well, you can wait for that. Alright, I'm back. I just went to get some water, so as you can see, it got destroyed, right? But as long as you place that over here, then you are good to go. Okay. So that is that area over here. Another thing to notice as well is the amp design. I don't have a roof on top, right? Most of the time I have a roof or something like that. But from my testing, I actually don't need a roof, it seems like, right? And the husks behave the husks behave perfectly fine. Okay. And over here on this amplifier, there's some additional layering on here, right? So as you can see, I have walls all around here, all around here, all around here, and this is just acting as extra protection, right? It's extra protection from up above, right? So pyramid there, pyramid there, pyramid there. And there is walls over here, right? And notice that there is no half floors, right? So this doesn't require any half floors, making it not as expensive as it seems. Okay. And for now, just to showcase this, I'm going to destroy this just for now. Right? Just for now, I'm just going to destroy that just to showcase the layers. All right. So up above here, as you can see, right, there is some layering over here, right? So there's a pyramid over there, like a half sandwich, right, with not the floors, right? And then there's some layers over here, and then this is one of these special layers over here. So these little pyramids are special layers so that they're discouraged from falling underneath, right? So they're discouraged more from falling underneath, right? Because this is only a 2-tile drop over here, right? So they're more encouraged to fall over here, right? But because you put more layers on there, there is going to act as additional layering, right? And this is also going to help as well because this is a 4-tile drop, right? So if they dropped over here, there's going to be 1, 2 layers, 2-tile drop with a layer over here they have to drop, which is 3 tiles. So that's 3 tiles and 2 2-tile drops, right? Whereas this is going to act as 1 layer with a 4-tile drop, right? In a 4-tile drop, it seems to be a lot more block off than like 2 2-tile drops, right? So they really don't like those 4-tile drops. They really hate them. All right. As well, so that's that over there. And then over here, there's this similar thing over here with that. And then there's a thingy-mabob over here to prevent them, to discourage them from passing over here. And this over here. So yeah, the block off itself isn't that bad, really, if you just like take a screenshot of that, right? It's not really that bad as it seems, right? And underneath over here, just walls, and then there's this little pyramid little ball thingy over here, right? So, and up here, should be also fairly simple layering. Just stack them up, right, without the hat floors. Right, so take that over there, and you can see it's just simple pyramids with walls, right? And just spam it all along here. Now, another thing to keep in mind too is that at the edges, I always pyramid it at the angle, right? And the reason being is because if they're on this tile, right, if they're going to try to break on this tile, they can either go east or they can either go north. But either way, they're going to have to break that, right? If it was just this, then this won't act as an extra protection against the east side over here, right? So it's important to have these curved up at the edges over here. See the curved up at the edges, curved up at the edges, right? And this one, I decided to curve it up this way, right? Because the amp is in this direction over here, right? So I'm going to do it away from the amplifier, so that if they want to go through towards this northeast over here, then they're going to have to break this with that, right? If it was just on this side over here, if they break this wall, right, they're free to break this wall, right? It's not preventing as extra protection against that. So do it on that side. Okay, and yeah, that should be the layering for that, right? Walls, flat floors, slants. And over here, as you notice that there is this over here, and this is acting as a flinger protection, right? So a flinger can actually fling from here, which is about, I think, if I do the math correctly, that should be like approximately like 11 to 12 tiles away, something like that. And the reason why they can fling so far is, unlike what most people think, flinger distance is actually dynamic, right? So the higher above ground the husks are at compared to the target, the more they can fling, right? The further they can fling. If the husks are on a higher elevation compared to the target, then they don't have a far range to fling, right? So I think one example of this is the hill amplifier, right? The hill amplifier has a higher elevation than the husks, right? A little bit higher, but because of that, the flinger distance that they can throw is actually less, right? And I think another example is the valley amplifier. Another example over there is the Wamp amp, right? So it really depends. Oh yeah, and also this amp too on the bridge, right? But this one over here, this the pit amplifier over there, that one has really far flingers, right? So they can try to fling from really, really far away, right? So it's really dynamic, right? Those flingers, right? So you have to account for that. So they can fling from over there, so I have to have those over here, right? And that is also why over here, which is probably going to be one of the last parts of this video, is that I have these massive lobber shields, right? Massive lobber shields. And these lobber shields are there because the flingers can actually fling from there, right? So this is a flinger spot for sure. This is a flinger spot. This is a flinger spot. These over here are flinger spots, right? So you have to be really be extra cautious about these flingers, right? Because I think most of the time I fail is because of flingers, right? Usually the tunnels are working perfectly fine. It's usually the flingers that screw you. So you really need to take extra precautions against these flingers and have really good lobber shields for your amplifiers that are lower elevation, right? So the lava over here is a lower elevation, so the flinger is going to be able to fling really far. So just to keep that in mind. All right. Okay, now a lot of times when I'm on this defense, I like to camp up here, right? I like to camp up here and just take a look at what's going on. It's pretty much always going to be like nothing happening. It'll just be really easy mode. But you don't always have to stand up there, right? This is just so that I can track the assassin husk and just see what's going on, right, with my tunnels, right? It gives me some sense of what's going on. But if your tunnels, you're completely fine with them, then you don't have to stay up there. You can just be wherever you want, right? Which is perfectly fine. Okay. So this lobber protection, what you're going to do is start over here, right? So a flinger can actually fling from this position over here, so you actually do need this spot over here, right? You do need a spot over here because they can fling from all across here, right? And so I'm going to start over here, right? Start the flinger lobber protection over here, right? go all the way up over here. So there's going to be 3 tiles all the way up, right? 3 tiles all the way up over here until I meet this little edge over here, and then it starts flowing for 2 tiles away, all the way across, right? And that should be good. Another thing to keep note too is that I have this over here, right? So I have a flat wall and then going across like this, right? So that is also important to make sure that you don't do land bridge. So make sure you don't do something like this, right? Make sure you don't do something like that where you're trying to do lobber protection. It is very bad practice, okay? And then once you actually do all that, and then you can finish off the pathing, right? So the pathing I generally do is over here, right? I actually don't need the floor here, but I'll just show it anyway. And I usually do something like, I think it's this. Is it? I'm just trying to remember. Right? No, it's like this, right? Yes. Yes, something like that. Yes, there we go. That's it. That's the diagonal pathing over there. Yeah, good. And I don't need that floor to make them path over there, which is good. Sometimes you're going to need this floor, right, to make them path. For example, over here, which is actually something to note. Like the so suppose if I was doing that other build, right? What are the other build, which was pathing them up here, right? Which is also a perfectly valid build too. You need to have this flat piece in order for the smashers to path up here. If you don't have this flat piece, the smashers for some reason cannot path up here, right? But for that particular spot over here, I don't need the flat piece. So it's really weird. You just have to test it out. I can't really for certain see how it works. Maybe there's like a certain gap distance over here that they have to meet. Maybe that gap distance is not met from here. No, it looks like it's... Yeah, I don't know. You just have to test it out. Alright. And let me put that back on here. And this is... There we go. But yeah, that is the lava amplifier. It's not too crazy expensive, but it's a little bit expensive, right, for what it is. So you just got to keep that in mind when you're building this. Like, can you afford this? But I'll guarantee you it is a very, very stable build, right? You will not have any issues with it, with punching or anything like that, right? If there is punching, it'll probably be the laser boys, which honestly I don't know what's the best solution for them. They just like to punch random crap. But that's pretty much it. That's alright. I can show some gameplay footage of it because I actually have tons of it. I had this amplifier for such a long time. I should have made a video for it because it is very stable. Okay. But yeah, I think that should be it overall, right? If you're gonna be fighting the mini bosses though, right? So mini bosses, there's gonna be the guaranteed waves 18 and 28, right? And those always have 2 mini bosses. So one strategy, which is really nice if you're not using a constructor with bull rush, is you could use your little pokey stick, right? And then if the bosses are in the geyser, they're gonna fly to the geyser and die, right? So one strategy I like to do is put a slow field over here as the bosses are coming down over here, pathing over here. Use the pokey stick, right? And if they land over here, then I pokey stick again, right? You gotta be quick, right? Or you can just let them drop down over here, and then you just do a pokey stick, right? Pokey stick them into there. But yeah, I think overall that should be the build, right? I don't think it's too bad, like in terms of trying to build it, but it'll be a little bit expensive, right? So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, have fun building.